It was the first 200-plus point drop for the Dow since late November, the worst percentage day for the NASDAQ since December 14th, and the worst day for the S&P 500 since December 8th. Joining us to talk a little bit more about it now is Ken Kamin, president of Mercadian Asset Management, and still with us, of course, our guest host, John Sylvia. Ken, I'll start with you. The sell-off that we saw yesterday, do you agree with Mr. Langone that we used to digest moves like this for lunch, and this is just part of normal trading, or do you feel there's a bigger piece to this story?
Well, I always feel that it's not smart to make too much of a big deal about any single trading day. The point that you said earlier, that it's the first triple-digit down day in 45 trading days, should give a lot of context to that. It's not really a reason for panic here. Sometimes things need to just slow up a little bit, take a breath. I mean, but as you said earlier, the news isn't exactly going in cadence with what people want to hear all the time, and we've gotten some stutter steps and the market took a step.
Yeah, and you bring up an interesting point, because in terms of what we've seen in the market, the bulls have definitely been out this year, but the increases and the increments that we've seen the market increase and rise have been sort of slow in terms of the trading days that we've seen. So to see a big point drop like this, do you expect, I guess my question to you is, what do you expect going forward? Again, are we going to go back to big swings and big moves, or are we going to go back to that slower pace?
I think because we're getting headlines dying down. 2011 is going to go down as the year of the headline. We were being whipsawed up and down every day by something. I mean, boredom, if you will, non-headlines, is a very good thing. I think we're going to see that as long as we don't get some wacky blow-up in the Middle East or something like that. This return to normal, if you will, of, you know, a tighter trading range on a daily basis, it's a really healthy thing, because it's allowing people, especially older people and retirees that have been on the sidelines earning no money on their investments, to toe back in thinking, okay, maybe things are getting back to the way I remember the market to be. So you got to never be complacent, but I'm actually a fan of tighter trading.
Okay,
but there's no way that's going to be the case, is I mean, you point out the issues in the Middle East. Remember, this is the year when we have elections in some of the biggest, most powerful countries around the world. I mean, the chances of these big headlines fading from sight and allowing markets to settle into a nice tight trade are very unlikely, isn't it?
Well, I think it's a question of the nature of the headlines. If the headlines are around the things that we've mentally already baked into the cake, like Greece, as you were saying earlier, you know, the political situation in America, the wrangling, as long as the headlines are around what we've already kind of made our mental bets about, I think we're fine. I'm more concerned about that event that comes in where everyone goes, huh? Where'd that come from? Because that's the thing that's going to potentially rock the market. So long as it's kind of in the realm of the things people have been analyzing, I'm probably not that concerned. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I think we've worked through the sort of the Greek issue, but now we've got the little bit of, where is Brazil now? All of a sudden, there's talk about Brazil being weaker than expected. They're talking about changing their policy. So that's what is, again, another element of surprise, not really discounted in the marketplace. And it is an election year, so we could get election year surprises as well.
Yeah, and of course, China's GDP growth a concern, so global growth is a concern. But Ken, I just want to get back to your point about us sort of treading water and moving slowly but surely forward. That really would be the case then, that the fundamentals here in the United States are strong. Do you believe, given the data that we've seen, that that is the case?
Yeah, I think we're going to see, you know, like 2% type growth. I know you have a report out calling, you know, for that also. And that is still growth. And I think that's the positive story here. Ultimately, equities trade on, you know, growth and balance sheets and earnings expectations, and those seem to be mildly positive. We're clawing back out of a real traumatic period. No one wants to get burned on the stove again, and they're kind of towing back in. So I think it's a positive. The bigger problem, or I should say potentially the bigger upside, is that there's still so much money sitting on the sideline earning nothing, and it doesn't want to be earning nothing. So people are looking for an excuse to come back and play.
Okay, and hold that thought, because it's a really good point when we talk about where to invest. A lot of people talking about dividend stocks, but President Obama wants to raise the tax rate on dividend payouts from 15% to 40% for people who earn more than $200,000 a year. Is this a bad idea? Ken, you have some strong views on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it is a bad idea to look at raising dividend rates up. It's not a 1% versus 99% issue in my mind. I mean, companies make decisions about how to spend capital. Are they going to apply it back into the capital for growth or give it back from a dividend point of view. You know, dividends account for, you know, a huge part of the income of seniors. 75% of all dividends paid in America go to people over 65 years old, according to the IRS.
Right.
And, you know, it's not a rich person issue. And think about how many wealthy people are paying college tuitions for grandchildren's mortgages for children. I mean, you have this kind of trickle-down effect, and the idea that we're going to start now moving dividends up and making the disparity between capital gains is a different way of taxing savers. We're not letting them earn anything on their
in the bank.
We're now saying the place they've put the money was in dividend stocks, so this way they can make a little bit of yield, and we're going to take that yield away from them, or a good chunk of it. Are we going to be then pushing savers out further on the risk horizon?
Okay, and just really quickly, because we are running out of time, I just want to get your thought on some of the companies that have increased their dividend recently. Are you expecting to see a flurry of more U.S. companies boost up that dividend?
Yeah, I think that we're totally poised for that because they're really faced with, do we buy back securities or do we give dividends? While the tax laws are the way they are, they probably are going to increase dividends. If tax laws change, you might see them switch into buying back securities, which doesn't necessarily help in the ways that dividends helps.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you so much for that, Ken. Of course, he's going to stay with us, give us more insight on the show, and John Sylvia as well.